So I'm in the car driving, and I started thinking about a friend. And this friend is extremely angry and torn up about something lately. And there were other friends involved in said situation as well, and emotions ran very high. And I was just kind of sitting with the way I was observing each person in the scenario. And it made me stop and realize, like, there were key words that this friend said, like, never. I am so done. I will never speak to this person again. Things like that. And it got me thinking about the times I've said never, or like really strong words like hate. Like hatred is such a strong word. Or when you take such a strong stance that you're positive in the moment that you will never do this, say this, engage with this again, whether that be person, place, or thing. Those are really strong words. And I got to reflecting about this person and just lovingly observing where they are, not in any kind of judgment, but just trying to not get in it with the friend, but observe, why is this person making these choices? Why is this person so firm on these strong decisions or behaviors or statements like I'll never? Or like when I think about myself, the times when I said I never, or I hate this, or I hate someone. And it made me realize, generally, like, this is an important life skill. The reason I want to talk about this is because this is a life skill anybody could have, not just a divine feminine, although I do know exactly where I've used it along a divine feminine journey. But this little tidbit is for everyone, and noticing that I operate under the belief system that emotions are tools. They're barometers. They're not meant to necessarily be taken literally. They're gauges. And so when, me personally, if I operate under the belief system that emotions are tools or signs, when I'm using words, behaviors, motions that are extreme, like to the level of hate or rage or lividness or depression in an extreme manner, like both ends of the spectrum, what I've realized is it doesn't actually matter if I feel clear in the moment, or if I feel super convicted about this anger, this rage, this extreme emotion, because I know I'm not. I have enough experience to know that when I'm feeling and saying things or showing things like rage, hate, anger, nevers, always, extreme kinds of positions, what that gauge or tool is telling me is that I'm no longer inside the realm of clear thought and decision making. So for me, that tool does not mean make a decision by cutting off a relationship suddenly, or taking a hardline stance on something, or really letting my mouth fly about telling someone the way I feel about something. Because even though I might feel like that in the moment, what I understand about those barometers is that I'm no longer in the scope of what I deem myself as in clear decision making and good decision making. And in my experience, I've noticed that all of my decisions that I make when I'm in those extreme realms of rage, of lividness, of hate, of depression, of terror, you know what I mean? Extreme fear. None of those have ever been great decisions, nor ones that I wanted to keep committing to or sticking to. Many, or if not all of them, were things I've changed my mind about. And so whether it's in relationship with someone, or in relationship to a job or an aspect of yourself, I mean, relationships are obviously the biggest one, but I would beg the listener to take a notice about when you start noticing yourself taking extreme stances or really strong stances about, I'll never speak to this person again, or I'll never do that again, or this person always this, that really is devoting your power in a direction that is outside of control, your control, and two, outside of what's making sense of what most people would deem reasonable. And I'm not saying that to ask you to keep in mind everyone else's opinion of what's reasonable. What I'm saying is you start to build a gauge based on your own life experience of like, hey, I'm feeling this extreme. It's not time to make any decision or say anything about anyone or choose to make a belief system about anyone or anything in this moment. And so for me, that's been a phenomenal tool, because as much as I can get so riled up and like drowning in that emotion, I know that all I can do is simply let time pass. And so somebody needs to hear this today, that if you need to wait 6 months before you can have a conversation with a person without reaching for I'll never or I hate or, like the extreme hardline stances, wait 6 months to have the conversation. Because if you can't approach the topic with neutrality, you're just not ready to talk about it, because you may or may not be ready to make a decision that you won't regret later. Or maybe you're fine with sticking with that decision. But I personally have noticed in my decision making that when I make decisions out of strong emotion, any strong emotion, good, bad, ugly, angry, anything in between, I very often feel some kind of way about trying to hold firm or stay committed to that decision, because when the emotion is gone, even if it's a long time down the road, the emotion is gone. I don't feel that way anymore. And then I feel weird. I feel bad, sort of trying to hold to a decision that I don't feel the same way about anymore. You know what I mean? And so then that causes an inner discrepancy inside of me of, well, is it about the way I feel, or is it about sticking to a decision or a commitment I made, or is it about upholding or dismantling a belief system I chose? You know what I mean? So it asks you to go deeper, because are you willing to stay committed to a decision you made at a certain emotional state, even when you're no longer in that emotional state? And so, again, whether this is in a divine feminine journey with your counterpart, or in family relationships, or in decisions that make or break careers and lifestyles and all kinds of things that really matter. By no means am I saying they don't matter or that they're not big deals, because sometimes they really are. What I'm asking you listeners to take a moment in is noticing that as a supercharged emotion like rage, anger, things that make you say I'll never, or I'll always, or I'll never forget this, or I'll never forgive you for that, those kinds of really hardline statements, to me and possibly to you, that's a telltale sign that you're no longer in the realm of what you would consider great decision making. And you may or may not want to make a choice that you'll have to, or you'll want to feel like you have to stay committed to later, even when the feelings change. And so, yeah, I just thought it was interesting to literally use anger, like an anger gauge, as a tool for decision making, and how I try extraordinarily hard to not make any decisions when I'm in a charged state, especially anger, because I can't remember a time when I really enjoyed making one of those kinds of decisions and following through and sticking to it later when the anger had dissipated. So let anger be your barometer of knowing when it's time to stop making decisions, stop choosing belief systems. That was kind of the deeper level of this. It's not just making decisions about what I'm going to do today or this week or about this conversation right here, right now. It's the deeper level about what kind of decisions or belief systems am I going to build about this person, place, thing, situation that I'm going to be asked to uphold either by myself or others to stand on later. And that may or may not still be true. And so that to me is like an important lesson I've learned in not letting anger be a space to make any kind of decisions from, because usually the kind of decisions I'm making is belief systems or choices about a person, place, thing. And when you're making them from that kind of state, it's almost guaranteeable that you